In this tutorial, or in this lab, I'm going to show you how to configure captive portal in FortiGate Firewall in GNS3. This is the diagram, already well cabled, that I'm going to use to demonstrate how captive portal is configured in GNS3 using FortiGate Firewall. At the end of this video, you are going to understand how captive portal works, its benefits to modern enterprise network infrastructure, its advantages, and how it has revolutionized access to services. So stay tuned, walk with me through this journey as I show you this particular lab in FortiGate Firewall. So this is a summary of captive portal that I created just because of you to be able to master that. Captive portal is a web-based authentication mechanism that helps users to accept terms and conditions before accessing services or resources hosted on the network. In FortiGate Firewall, you can see the captive portal helps to control network access, identify a user. Through the captive portal, you can know who accessed which resource at what time. It also helps to enforce security. So the benefits of captive portal is that it helps to control network access, also helps to identify users on the network, and also enforce security policies. So how does it work? It is not just a matter of knowing how to configure, then it's over. You should understand how captive portal works in FortiGate Firewall so that you can have a good ground in networks. When a user, it works this way, that when a user connects to the network and attempts to browse the internet, the FortiGate intercepts the request and redirects the user to a login page. So it's not so that automatic when you try to access a certain service or a web page, the FortiGate blocks that and redirects you to authenticate you by logging into that login page. So at least through that, the firewall can log your details on the network. So after successful authentication, and types of authentication, it can be done locally, local accounts on the firewall itself, or LDAP, or radius server, or Active Directory. You see? So Active Directory, this is a collection of Windows servers or Linux servers that are hosting shareable services. So captive portal can authenticate users either locally vis-a-vis the accounts created on the firewall, or radius or Active Directory. So captive portal implementation in GNS3 is a typical lab that consists of, let me show you, consists of a client, then the firewall, and the internet. The internet can be simulated by a cloud, as you can see. So the basic configuration process, you have to configure the wide area network or the WAN and LAN interface on the FortiGate. Also, you create a local user integrating an authentication server. You create a user, then that user you bind the user to a particular group. After that, you enable the captive portal on the LAN interface. Then finally, you create the firewall policy that requires user authentication. So generally, this is just a summary. Advantages of captive portal it has enhanced security through user authentication, access control, guest management. So you see, the captive portal is one of the mechanisms that is being used nowadays in the small and medium internet service providers, whereby you have to authenticate by entering username and a password before you access either Wi-Fi, and through that they do captive portal, in that the time you are authenticating is the time you are making payment vis-a-vis the service that you are in need. Also, they use captive portal to control the bandwidth. Mostly it is used for guest Wi-Fi's. The benefits of captive portal in the network infrastructure: it helps to improve overall network security and management by providing visibility into who is accessing the network and what resource they are using. It also supports centralized authentication, simplifying user administration, helping the organization to comply with security and regulatory requirements. Additionally, they reduce the risk of unauthorized access, improving accountability and effective utilization of resources. So the captive portal is a valuable network access control solution that authenticates users before granting connectivity to resources on the network. In GNS3, it serves as an excellent simulator. So let me go back to the lab and show you how to configure after having given you this knowledge here. So first of all, I'll assign IP addresses on the interface. The interface facing the internet is going to get IP address automatic from the internet. This internet port 3, this interface port 3 that is facing LAN 2, I'm going to assign static IP address on this port, so that through this port I'm going to access the firewall. The web, I'm going to access the firewall on the web. This side, using this segment, is where I'll use now to test the captive portal. The captive portal, I'm going to configure it on this port too. So step by step, let me move with you. First of all, let me access the firewall. Make it broader. At least 18 is better. So that is firewall. Admin. Let me just reduce it. So admin, no password, and then you reset your own password. After resetting your password, you see it gives you a welcome message that welcome config system interface. I go to port 1. Port 1 is facing the internet. This port here, this port. So I'm going to enable the DHCP on this port. Edit port 1, set clear allow access, then set mode DHCP. Clear allow access, I'm removing the web capability on this particular interface because that one I'm not going to use it to access the firewall. So after there, set role, this is a 1, set alias, internet. After there, end. Edit, config, system, interface, edit port 1, then show. You see, it has not received IP address yet. I can confirm it by show system interface. Still not yet. It will just get an IP address. Let me go to port 3, the one that is facing this section. So I'm going to configure the DHCP server on this port and also give it a static IP address on this. So config system interface, edit port 3, set alias LAN 2, set role is a LAN port. After there, set mode static, then set IP address 192.168.0.1/24. set allow, because this command is going to help me access the firewall in the browser. Set allow https SSH FGM ping. So after there, and let's verify that config sysint edit port show. You see, this is how I have configured port 3. After there, now I'm configuring this port 2. This is, I'm just assigning IP address, edit port 2, set mode static, set IP 192.168, then set alias LAN 1, set role LAN, set allow access. Even that is enough, then enter. Let me try to ping the internet. Execute ping, then 192.168.122. You see, I'm able to reach the gateway facing the internet. I'm able to reach the internet, as you have seen here. I have sent the packets. Let me try to ping the IP address in the LAN 2, that is 0.1. You see, I'm also able to reach that. Let me ping for LAN 1. Okay, so the firewall being at a central stage, it's able to access any of the 3 sites here. But I'm going to create a rule in that this side, LAN 1, can access LAN 1 can access the internet. Remember, while here, because all the interfaces are connected on the firewall, there is no big deal. But LAN 1 has to access the internet for testing purposes. So I'll come here. Let me close this first. IP DHCP. it will fail because I have not configured the DHCP on that particular interface facing this particular LAN. But I will use this to access the firewall so that I can create the rule, create the user and the user group, then configure the captive portal, then I proceed to test. The first step is to access the firewall. You see, I have accessed that firewall using that interface. You can see this is what I'm meaning. I'm using this to access this firewall via here. That's why administrator. So once you access the let me zoom a bit. Admin, not save, then remind me later. We begin to evaluate our license. So this we call it FGT Central or captive server. Captive server. We enable that. You see, I have accessed my firewall here. You see, these are the things that helped me to access that firewall in the browser, especially this one. So the first thing, I'm going to the interfaces. So LAN 1 is this one. These are the commands that I configured on the browser, on the CLI. So I'm enabling the DHCP on LAN 2. So once done that, you just come here, you enable the DHCP, you give it 5. So I'm done. So the first thing, I'm creating the rule so that LAN 1 here, this one, can access the internet. To do so, you come to network, you come to policy and objects. You create a rule. There is an implicit rule by default which is bound on denying everything. So LAN 1 to the internet. The incoming port is the LAN 1 port, then the outgoing is the internet port, port 1 on the firewall. On the source, we allow everything, then service everything, we log all sessions there. So that is it. I have created a rule from the web term. Now I can be able to access the internet from here. I can be able to ping inside on the internet. So the rule is here. We can create a static route. So this one will remain. The gateway is we will use the IP for the interface facing the internet. So the interface will just give it this, but it will be dynamic, so there is no need. You see, it has automatically picked 192.168.122.1. So that way we enable that, then we save. So this one means this is a default route. If any traffic by any chance will lack to define its destination address or its destination node, it will be forwarded to the internet. And to go to the internet, it will use this particular address. So I'm done. Let me try to verify from here. So it is saying that the machine refused. I can just stop. Then start afresh. Check. Okay. So if it persists this way, we just change. So before we before I power it on, I will ensure that it has the IP address. You see, then I will save. Start it. Now this time let me check. You see, first of all, let me go to its terminal. IP address. You see, it has accepted a certain IP there. So what I'm going to do is to change that IP. I'll power it, I'll stop it, then edit this IP. This is 1, 1. Then this one I can just leave it at 1. Or let me just leave it at there first, then start. The moment let it load, We test by accessing YouTube. It's refusing because so once we do that, you first verify that it has received IP address. So if you don't see here an IP address, there is a problem. We just have to ensure that it gets the IP address. Let me just solve that again. These are the things that you should be patient about as a network engineer. Sometimes things do not go the way you expect, but you have to fix them. So before I start, let me just give it when you understand captive portal in the network administration, sometimes it is simple with you because this is how you will ration the services to users in the network. You see, it has received the IP now. With this one, now I can access the internet. Let me first test ping Google. You see it's pinging, eh? You see it's pinging. So to stop that, we can just test by going to YouTube direct. You see, I'm accessing YouTube, and remember, I'm just simulating, but I'm accessing YouTube, so they're a bit slow. So let me go to our channel, Netlabs Hub. For your support, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. I always drop every video a video on Thursday, Tuesday, and on Saturdays. You see? This is it. So I have achieved. So the main thing remaining is just enabling the captive portal. enabling the captive port, and then it's done deal. We verify. So this is our channel, Netlabs Hub. So let me come to the access the firewall, and then configure the captive portal. So admin, to configure the captive portal is very simple. You need to know to save. Just go to that interface, enable after creating the user. So I'm going to, for example, before I log into my Facebook account, I have to authenticate. Let's just see the next. So you will go to security. You'll go to user and authentication, then user definition. From this section here, we create a new user. So here, user type is a local. So these are the ways you can authenticate users to the captive portal. So today I'm using local user. Next time I'll use the Radius server or TACAX or LDAP. So next. Username, admin, then password, so you don't have to save. There is no, in real network environment, you can enable two-factor authentication so that maybe a user can get a one-time password like OTP or an email notification, indeed to verify who she is or who he is. But in local simulation, we are not enabling that. Once you do that, you submit. So I have created a user. You see, a user called admin. There is no, but this user is not in a group. So you come to the user group, then you create captive. Captive users. Then the member, I'll add a member. There is an admin here who is, but I can edit this user. So let me give the best name. Netlabs. So member, it has not picked that, it's just okay. So and then after there, entry not found in the data store. So So there is no way I can use admin because admin is one of the accounts that I have logged into this. So I just come to users, then you see there is Netlabs. Netlabs, then admin. So there is this user here. So when we come to user group, there is no group. Captive. Captive portal. Users. Then a member. You see there is Netlabs here. So it means that all users who are under this group must authenticate. This is what you do maybe for this open Wi-Fi. You see, I have created a group called Captive Portal Users, then group type on firewall, then added this user. So the next thing is now to enable the Captive Portal. You come to the network, then interface. On the interface, port 2, this port. So on this, you will enable what we call, just a minute, security mode. The moment you enable security mode, Captive Portal comes. Then we are authenticating locally. The account is on this firewall. If it is on external, then you will choose external, then give the IP address of that server. So after here, local users, user access, you see, restricted to group, then captive portal users. So once you do this, exempt, then redirect after captive, you can specify a URL here. For example, facebook.com. So if this particular user in this group happens to go to Facebook or tries to log into Facebook, he or she has to be authenticated by entering the So I'm done. Let me verify. So you come to the web tab, then you verify. Then, for example, say I'm going to use facebook.com. You see, there is a pop-up here that you must log in to this network before you access the internet. So that direct connection has been redirected to the login page. When you open the login page, you see, it will give you the authentication required. Though this page you can customize it. Next time I will customize it to look better, but for today it's just you enter the password and the username. The moment you enter the correct The moment you enter the correct credentials, you go to Facebook. Now I have been authenticated. You see? Initially, I couldn't access this Facebook for the first time, you see. I cannot access Facebook not unless I have entered the password. So let me repeat with a different URL. So you just come here, then console, then you go to this port. No. You go to the interface. I'm changing the URL. This interface. So on Facebook, then I'll choose which site can I use, huh? Cisco.com. So if I want to log into Cisco.com, I have to be authenticated. The moment you save, then you come to this particular URL, then Cisco.com. You see? So you see, let me enable this. Which language is this? So that one has not worked as I expected. Let me pick YouTube. But you've seen how search is authenticated. YouTube.com. So I have changed my URL to YouTube. So once you do that, you refresh the firewall, then let me delete history. So with the simulations, so once you configure for the first time, then you are authenticated, your credentials are taken, so the next time sometimes it might bring the issues to do with post. But this is how you configure captive portal. Let me just return it to Facebook. So thank you so much for following too closely in this lab. Hope you've learned how captive portal works, what are its benefits to the network, and how to configure it in GNS3. Thank you so much. Feel free to subscribe at Netlabs Hub on YouTube. Leave a comment, a like, and also share. Thank you.